what's next to it.
No, she won't.
What?
I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
Huh? Hi, it's really good. How are you? My investigative vehicle? Okay. Okay. Investigative vehicle. Which one?
Where is that for?
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, thank you. The investigative, I don't know, it must be one of the, yeah. Yeah. It's on. Is your friend...
Susie.
Yeah.
She said this morning she had a conversation with 20 minutes. Drinking. She said how nice you are. So she, who recruited her? She did a prom date. So she's not even like I think you can tell right away when you meet somebody that they're just yeah. We met her in the lobby when I told bio right away. She was so nice. See this? Everyone was just telling me how great Lauren is.
Hi, Kevin. How you doing?
Hey, nice to see you.
What's up?
I told you on the phone.
Yes, I know.
It's a little bit late.
Okay.
Did you know about it?
Yes, Dolores was telling me. We'll figure it out. We'll figure
We
it
got
out.
to clean it up.
Yeah.
We gotta-
Okay.
My recommendation is you come and see me. I'll come and see you. We'll
Sounds
sign
good.
off and get it all cleaned up. Just like-
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. Yeah.
I like your
Yeah.
pin. Your pin.
I like the tie.
Cops coming away and all this thing.
Here's our friend. Yep. This is pretty easy out here, isn't it?
No.
Welcome to best thing just you can do is just smile. There's Donald X Clavin. But you have the best job. You just pull them all out.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. And tomorrow Hunter and I are going to sent out that nice little press release. So
Okay, cool. It's like much colder over here. Do you feel like cold air coming?
I do.
It's like
I feel it. It's coming back.
It's like a cold draft coming from here. From this direction, there's something coming. You don't feel cold over there? I feel like this cold, like. I know. I know. You're okay? All right, then it's fine. That's all right. Yeah, I have a scarf and stuff, so.
Do you have any pictures in action as you're conducting this? Like, in front of your pictures, like while you're doing it?
Yeah, people have taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Hunter went to come and get you before.
Oh, yeah.
We heard that you were taken away.
Yes.
A lot of them, actually. A ton of them. I don't know why, but there's a whole bunch of them all in the audience. They're trying to go off and forth. I don't know. Is there something on the calendar up there? I don't know. It's already raining. It's getting cold. It's gonna be a good day. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. And go and suggest, go ahead and whenever you want like something, just always do what I just do. Just be you. Like I would do the same thing. Sorry. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
flavor. You're gonna have to stay the whole meeting this time.
I came over together. So you still doing stuff on eBay?
No, I actually have stopped doing that years ago.
If you ever have anything, he initiated the Swansea.
I did.
eBay, which was actually great. I guess because it's eBay stuff all the time. I myself.
We got a lot of fun
So,
back then.
no, I'd say it's all that. But if you have stuff at home, he can absolutely make us all expert because he knows how to operate this kind of business. How many years you been married? 5?
How many years am I married?
Yeah.
It's going on. Actually, we got married in 2011. So.
He's got a 2-year-old and
Well, no,
7.
I remember when you moved to Merrick, yeah. He put on Facebook and I'm like, I'm so excited to get your money. It was very funny. It was very funny.
Are you still friends with Ken too? You know,
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Kenny's good people. Kenny's good people. Have you met Kenny? He works consumer affairs. He is a true survivor, and he's an absolute great guy. What?
You started with Tom Gold.
He drove Galata, and before Galata left, and then he ended up going to consumer affairs, and he is
Swansea liked him.
Swansea liked him, McKenna liked him,
Oh, that's
Curran liked him, but
I
he's a
need
great
some
guy.
introduction to him. I was telling Lauren that he's just a great guy.
Oh, Kenny's absolutely great guy. Kenny's a good guy. I have no idea, but I have to go to a tax deal. So I mean, I have to get to Freeport or something like that. I have a tax form today. How you liking it, right? She's awesome.
She's
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
weirdest person I worked with. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah, no, I know. Dude, trust me, I get it.
But you're one of those too as well. You're like 5 feet.
Listen.
Where are you going?
Get out of here. Listen, I love being here. Listen, I can't. She knows I love being here.
Everyone loves you.
And I take all their money.
Parents love you too. Because they always say, I know him because he's on the tax bills, but they met you at some event years ago.
No, well, I remember when you were just getting married because I remember your wife Italian.
Yes.
Yes, and I remember you put the photo. It was a beautiful photo, and then
Thank you.
I knew you had the one. I was jet too.
Now it's
See, and by the way, how are you getting so much sleep?
No, I'm not getting sleep.
This guy's got he's like on caffeine. I don't know.
I was up at 12, then 2 last night, then at 4.
He does all the like evening.
Oh, the other.
Then my daughter
Remember
tells
those
me,
days?
my 2-year-old tells me to take, the newborn to work. Because she doesn't want
She went home. Well, I remember when my first she had a sensitive stomach, and all of a sudden they put her on the. No. This is a great story. They put her on the formula new prescription.
Yes.
And I forget who worked in the town, but like, that's covered in the health plan. I was like, what? It's covered. They would deliver to my house. Oh,
Because people tell me, like, this, I'm like,
and it was like, I was like nuts, but they like deliver crates of my house. I was like, she can start up.
Okay.
See you guys later.
All right then.
yeah, if their prescription is free, they'll have them delivered to his house too. It's just a joke.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to our town board meeting. For those of you who have never attended a town board meeting before, we start with public hearings, which is followed by an administrative calendar. There are meeting agendas available in the rear of the pavilion. If you'd like to be heard on any of the matters before the town board, please go to the rear of the pavilion and fill out a slip, which you can obtain from a public safety officer. After the meeting is adjourned, the town board will follow our custom and remain in session to hear residents who would like to address the board on any other matters. Just two little minor things before we begin our meeting. I've advised the town board, the town attorney, that in the event that this meeting runs very long, my friend passed away from breast cancer, and I need to attend her wake out of state, so I may need to leave the meeting. The deputy supervisor will continue the meeting if, in fact, I need to go. It's my hope that we'll finish the meeting before I need to leave, but if I do leave, I intend no disrespect to the public. It's just for that reason I will be leaving. In addition, I just want to remind everybody here that when you come up and make your comments, we ask you to be respectful to the members of the town board and to each other. If you're not respectful, we'll remind you that we need to be respectful, and if you can't be respectful, then we will have to ask you to leave. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Superman. Councilman Ambrosino? Here. Councilman Blakeman?
Here.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito? Councilman Dunn? Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King-Sweeney. Here. Supervisor Gillen.
Here.
Also in attendance this morning, we have Receiver of Taxes, Donald Xavier Clavin, Jr.
All right, I would ask Councilman Bruce Blakeman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call the first public hearing?
Proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in East Meadow, Franklin Square, Hewlett, Merrick, and Seaford.
I do not have any slips on this item. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted. Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito? Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Councilwoman King-Sweeney?
Aye.
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Belmore, Franklin Square, and Levittown.
I do not have any slips on this item. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito? Councilman Dunn? Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Aye. Councilwoman King-Sweeney? Aye. Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Levittown, Merrick, and Westbury.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Make a motion that the hearing be closed and we move the item.
Okay.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito? Councilman Dunn? Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Councilwoman King-Sweeney? Aye. Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding traffic regulations in the vicinity of schools in Elmont.
Councilman Ambrosino, do you have a motion?
Madam Supervisor, I move that we adjourn this hearing till the night meeting on February 20th to allow the people in the neighborhood to comment on the item.
I second.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Ambrosino? Aye. Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn? Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman King-Sweeney? Aye. Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding bus stops in Franklin Square and Levittown.
I do not have any slips on this hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard? Hearing no one, may I have a motion?
I move that the hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding gross weight restrictions in Seaford.
I have no slips on this hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard?
Supervisor, I move that the hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law entitled Ethical Standards to amend Chapter 38 of the Code of the Town of Hempstead to repeal subsections 38-1.16 and 38-2.4 thereof in regard to outside earned income for elected town officials.
Okay. I have a slip, Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Bond Street, Franklin Square, New York. On this revision, I just want to go back to September 5th when Councilwoman Sweeney had an entire list of items that she wished to put on the ethics law, which I support wholeheartedly and more. I had my own list, and it's on the video of September 5th that we both articulated what we wanted. And I find it very discouraging that the only thing that we're modifying in this ethical law is things that benefit, Councilwoman Sweeney and Councilman Blakeman in particular, and we don't do a full modification, which is desperately needed, because one of the key things that is desperately needed in the ethical standard, if you're just going to pick one additional thing to add, is public participation. There's nothing that prohibits it, but the head of the Board of Ethics, John Ryan, has indicated he is not empowered by New York State to take public complaints. Well, that's not really correct. It doesn't state explicitly that he doesn't prohibit him from doing it, but he doesn't have to. So he kind of is a little misleading when he gave me that excuse. And in that respect, I have an ethics complaint.
Well, Felix, can I
please stop the clock?
Can I interject for 1 second? Well, first of all, good morning. Basically, we as a town board with the supervisor are going to meticulously and very deliberately look at all of our ethics laws and amend them, and we are going to sit down and talk about many of the things that Councilwoman Erin King Sweeney, myself, and other members of the board have proposed over a period of time, and we're going to do that relatively quickly. Because of the time constraints of this particular portion of the ethics law that would require legal action if there was a challenge to it within a specific period of time, we're getting rid of that part of it now to avoid anything that might cause the town money with respect to legal fees, attorney's fees, et cetera, and avoid litigation. But we are going to sit down and talk about all the things that Councilwoman King Sweeney, the supervisor, myself, and all the members of the town board have put forth with respect to ethics reform. So that is in the process.
I would echo those comments, Mr. Procacci. Certainly, our ethics code is something that we will be taking a look at. I did speak with some members of the town board about it. This was something that we had to address in an expeditious manner. The income cap was in our opinion, not a valid ethics reform, and it was something that we had to address right away. That's why this is severed out just for this public hearing, but we will be taking a look at the ethics code, I assure you that.
Yeah, I always worry about, I've been hearing everything's been kicked down the road. I've been here, I think, around 7.5 years. I've heard a lot of that kind of stuff that at the next time, we're going to look into it. We're going to consider it. I can't tell you how many times. I wish I had $1 for every time they said that. I'd be wealthy. But anyway, in that respect, I submitting a request for Supervisor Gillen to submit a ethics complaint regarding the civil service agreement that was, I believe, voted on illegally by Dunn, Esposito, and Santino. And I wrote it up. I did email you, so you had a heads up on this. This one I signed. Once again, I don't want to submit it to John Ryan and their ethics board because I know what they're going to say. Well, we're not empowered. Well, they're going to lie, and they don't have to respond to me. Legally, they don't have to because there's nothing shall. But it does say in the law, currently, our current ethics law, the ethics board shall respond to employees. Shall. So if you implement this, they shall, they must, unless you ask Joe Rob, because he doesn't know the meaning of shall. He argued that shall is not a command, but the Bible says it is. But the thing is, they have to respond to you. And I ask, I'm going to give it to the clerk, and like I said, I emailed it to you. I'd like you to submit an ethics complaint regarding that issue. It's important that we get a decision on it. I understand they take their sweet time with me. They took 6 months to give me a no disclaimer on the ethics complaint I filed against Kate Murray. I proposed my own ethics law back in 2015, and many of the members of the board were here, and nobody echoed concern for ethics when Kate Murray used the town's animal shelter for her district attorney campaign. And, all her arguments were none. I made the complaint. John Ryan waited till the week after the election before he responded that he did nothing. And when I asked for the folder, there was not one interview with one person. My complaint came back. And I said this at a previous meeting. That's not, it doesn't give confidence if you didn't talk to one person. What did you do for 6 months? If you didn't interview someone, how did you determine that there was no wrongdoing? There was no discussion as to why there was no wrongdoing. She clearly misused her office, the animal shelter department, and it was clear that it was a conflict of interest. But once again, I'm asking you to submit a complaint. Respectfully, I asked you to please submit a complaint so we could get a determination. How long it'll take, I don't know. There's no date, time. Once again, in the ethics law, there's no time constraint. When I proposed it back in 2015, I suggested 60 days, and if they had to go above the 60 days, they give a public letter as to what reasons they need to extend it for 60 days, and they could do that indefinitely, the proposal I put forth. So they're not strung by a time limit, which sometimes it does take time, but they have to give a reason for why it's going to take more than 60 days to analyze a complaint. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Procacci. I see you've handed your complaint to the clerk, and we will take it under advisement and investigate. Thank you. Next, we have Michael Watt.
Good morning. My name is Michael Watt, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Reclaim New York Initiative, a 501c4 advocacy organization regarding the proposed amending of Chapter 38 of the Code of the Town of Hempstead Ethical Standards as it pertains to limiting the income elected town officials can earn.
Could you please state your address for the record, Mr. Watt?
Michael Watt, W-A-T-T, 597 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016.
Did you identify that you're from Reclaim New York, sir?
The Reclaim New York Initiative, a 501c4 advocacy organization. Being ethical is like being pregnant. You either are or you aren't, and you are no less pregnant when you're 8 months along than you are at 1 month. So it stands to reason that an elected official's ethics will not be impacted by how much money he or she earns in addition to fulfilling his or her duties as a council person. To insinuate that the more money you earn, the more likely you are to become corrupted is an insult to smart, hardworking people enjoying successful careers. Limiting outside income also serves as a deterrent to attracting successful men and women into public service. Local government can only benefit by having men and women with the work ethic and discipline required to build successful careers and share those talents and resources with their fellow residents. A lot is asked of our elected officials in terms of sacrificing time away from family and fun. The last thing government needs to be doing is demanding they take a significant pay cut as well. How much income is earned by the elected official outside his or her governmental duties is not nearly important as how the money is made. As long as the outside income stems from performing services unrelated to the elected official's role in the municipality, the amount earned should not be a problem. An elected official taking even $1 in order to exploit his or her position, on the other hand, is unacceptable. Reclaim New York initiative, therefore, supports removing limits on the outside income elected officials can earn, assuming the earning of said income does not interfere with the elected official's ability to fulfill his or her governmental responsibilities. Thank you.
I do not have any other slips on this public hearing. Is there anybody else who would like to be heard?
Mita J. Merriday, Baldwin resident, advocate for veterans, repeat performer with regard to this ethical situation, and I'm hoping this time that the direction that it goes, that the spirit and the nature of the process takes a more fairer and inclusive direction. As previous speakers have stated, and I have stated myself previously, the income stipulation was purely political. Let's keep it real. You know, I'm on a time clock here, so I just want to be specific. The nature of the whole process itself was not genuine, it was not sincere, and it lacked integrity. So if this is an opportunity to make that right with all the other issues that need to be addressed and corrected in the township of Hempstead, let's at least in this instance get it right. Again, as was previously stated, I'm not really in the mood to be repeating other statements, but we need an opportunity to recruit the best and the brightest to represent the interests of this township. We need to have the opportunity for them to do what they need to do to be successful for their own families so that they can protect the interests of all of our families and the many underserved and underrepresented constituencies in this township. So again, we are looking to you, our leaders, and our newly elected supervisor to get this right. And for those who had an opportunity to do the right thing previously, this is a new year, this is a new day. So we are looking for you this time to get it right. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on this hearing?
Diane Madden, Hempstead. Before I begin, sympathy to you on the loss of your friend, Supervisor. I am all for this ridiculous resolution being voted against and done away with. But what concerned me was the conversation that took place. I'm happy to hear, Councilman Blakeman, that other ethical issues will be worked on. We've been waiting a very long time for that to happen. What I would like to know is, you know, as we know, goals are great. We've been hearing goals for many, many years from this board. What are the deadlines? What are your deadlines? The way I look at it, the sooner we satisfy the public and the public is satisfied with some ethical, very much needed changes, the better. So let's take, for instance, an Inspector General. What is the deadline for an Inspector General? And is that something the board is still in agreement on?
Mr. Rye, I believe that is coming up for our March hearing. Is that correct?
Under civil service law, the position has to be created, and it has been sent to civil service in New York State, and it'll take until March for a public hearing has to be held by the Town of Hempstead Civil Service Board, and that will be in March.
And so everyone understands, what does that mean?
The position has to be created.
Okay, and then from there?
And once the position is created, then the board can start to conduct interviews and move forward.
Okay, so do you have just an approximate ballpark time of when we will have an inspector general?
I know that the position will be created sometime in March.
Okay, so is there anything that can cause delays from that happening?
Once the position is created, then we can move forward with retaining someone to act as what they're calling the compliance officer.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to be heard on this public hearing? Hearing no one, may I have a motion on this item?
I make a motion that the hearing be closed and the local law be adopted.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman D'Esposito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed handicap parking on public streets in Baldwin, Elmont, and Uniondale.
I do not have any slips on this item. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard?
Mita J. Meriday, Baldwin resident, would just like to know the background for this particular law and what streets are impacted.
Mr. Reed?
And while he's coming, since we do have a cross-section of county and town roads, we're just hoping, and I'm sure there are other residents from other communities that are looking for more cross-municipality direction with regard to addressing some of the traffic infractions that are happening on our county and town roads, aside from the pothole issues that are becoming like mission impossible, but I get it because of the weather. But we're having issues where buses are parked, or school buses are being parked in places that are dangerous for pedestrians as well as drivers, and we have people who are parking clearly on areas that have no parking. So I'm just hoping that the town and the county can kind of work together to better address that, because, you know.
If you provide us with some specifics of where you're seeing problems, we'll look into them.
Okay.
Mr. Reed, can you speak to this item?
This is a handicap item for a resident who had requested handicap parking in front of their home. And as of today, once it's been approved by the town board, we will issue a work order to have the signs installed for this resident.
Okay, so for as it pertains to Baldwin or all of these, it's for it's residential for their home?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Majority of them, yes.
Okay. So there's no other like main streets, or it's not, we're not talking Grand Avenue or things like that?
Well, I mean, we have an issue here in Franklin Square for New High Park Road, which is a county road, and they requested our assistance to update the parking in that area. So I had to modify some parking restriction lengths in some area to implement no stopping any times.
Right, okay.
In and around the crosswalk area, which you don't want cars parking anywhere near a crosswalk. So we had to update the signage in Franklin Square for one of the locations that's on the agenda for today.
Okay, and you will be informing law enforcement of these changes again? So
Yes,
I mean, again,
the restrictions, the police departments get notified of the restrictions, so.
Because I'm really trying to be proactive versus reactive. You know, we have to really try to reduce the fatalities of people getting hit, crossing streets, and things of that nature. And if we're not doing it now, you know, this hearing could become like a...
Generally, the police departments are notified with new ordinances, whether it's term prohibitions or parking restrictions. And also the residents can call the police if they see a parking issue on the block, and the police will come down and respond.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Supervisor.
Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard on this item? Hearing no one, may I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman D'Esposito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King Sweeney. It's Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Okay, that concludes our public hearings. Madam Clerk, will you please call the administrative calendar?
Supervisor, on the administrative calendar this morning, we have items 1 through 57.
Okay. 1 through 57. Joker, you come here and tell me the truth.
Yeah, we want to separate first. We want to separate.
Madam Clerk, I move to table items 48, 49, and 50. Certain members of the board has asked for additional time to consider these items, and I'm inclined to table these until our next town board meeting to provide the board members with the time that they need to feel comfortable voting on these items.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 48 and call the roll?
Resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement to provide legal services, Town of Hempstead, Bond, Shanick and King, PLLC.
Will you please call the roll to table the item?
Yes. Councilman Ambrosino? Aye. Councilman Blakeman? Councilman D'Esposito? Aye. Councilman Dunn? Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney? Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. Madam Clerk, please read item number 49 and call the roll.
Item number 49, resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement to provide investigative services, Town of Hempstead, in parentheses, Kroll, Inc. Councilman Ambrosino. Aye. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman D'Esposito. Aye. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call item 50.
Item 50, refunding bond resolution, authorizing the refunding of certain outstanding serial bonds of said town, stating the plan of refunding, appropriating an amount not to exceed $110,000 for such purpose, authorizing the issuance of refunding bonds in the principal amount of not to exceed $110,000 to finance said appropriation and making certain other determination relative thereto, Town of Hempstead.
Please call the roll to table this item.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman D'Esposito. Councilman Dunn. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 110. Yes, 110 million. Sorry. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman King Sweeney. And Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Are there any other items on the administrative calendar that any members of the town board would like to sever? I have a number of slips of people who wish to be heard on the administrative calendar. Donna Kazaza.
Donna Kazaza, Rockville Center, New York. Okay, the first one are inclusive are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. These are with respect to youth services contracts from January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2016. Is there a reason why, I guess my question is this a debt? These are contracts that were not paid in the calendar year of 2016 and 2017?
Mr. Ryby,
these resolutions come out of the Department of Planning and Economic Development, and I would believe that these are contracts that were agreed to back then and were not paid.
Right. So
is that correct, Commissioner?
The contracts from the OCFS,
No, I know they're villages, but the dollar amounts of all these contracts for services that were rendered were for services that were rendered in the budget for 2016, I would think. For some reason, they didn't get into that budget and they weren't paid then. They weren't paid in 2017, and now they're coming up in a 2018 year, and you want to pay them out from 2018 budget?
It's grant money.
Block grant fund?
It's 2000. It does not come out of the 2018 budget. The money was appropriated in 2016.
Okay, so just so you know that with respect to a layman looking at these contracts, it doesn't tell me it's grant money. It doesn't tell me where the grant money's coming from the state, the feds. Stop the clock. Am I right? So we know that not $1 for these youth services is coming out of the 2018 budget, correct?
That's correct.
My clock keep.
Yes, correct.
Okay. 36 and 36, I guess it is. North Shore Architecture, Inc. The contract there that was signed does not have the name of the principal underneath. So if you're looking, you would never know who actually is that person. And that goes with standard valuation services also. If you're looking at that contract, you would not know who the principal is, who the owner is, and for ethical purposes, you wouldn't be able to vet the contract.
Supervisor, can I address that? So that's a valid point that's been made. We do have disclosures from those firms. Okay, so you want to disclose who the principals are?
Well, I guess if I may, the problem is if they're all bunched in a resolution and they're all being typed with the same kind of contract, some are bold and have a printed name and some don't, it should all be consistent with the same type of contracts.
Well, I think it should be consistent that the principals be included in that information, but the disclosures that we get indicate, do you want the names?
Well, I think that they should be part of the record, and they should be part of the vetting that are done by we who take the time to look at the resolutions. It was 6 and 8 months down the line. I know my time is, but I'm answering a question for you. The bottom line is that should be part of the process that's open and transparent for all of us to look at.
So you're saying you'd like this information included in resolutions?
And it had been, like maybe 6 or 8 months ago, all that vetting was put on and then it was taken off. I take a look at every one of these resolutions that come in.
I think that's something that we will take under advisement and look into, especially as we look to amend our ethics law.
Okay. Next is, I think it's 38. And my question on this one is Power Sales Charter, Inc. Now, these contracts look like they're subsidized by HUD, correct?
What number are you looking at?
38. So part of 38 was one contract wasn't signed. I don't know who the principal is, but Power Sale Charters, Inc. This particular contract, you're approving this particular company, and you're saying there were 4 responses to this contract, but you're not telling us who the other 3, we'll call it was an RFP. Who were the other 3? What was the dollar amount that they bid?
Commissioner, do you?
What we'll do is each year, these are a series of requirements that are awarding to 3. Respondents come in, there's a procurement policy that we have to adhere to because there are CDBG funds involved. The committees are set up, they review the responses to the RFP, and a recommendation is made to who to put forward for contract.
Okay.
Three contracts are being awarded in this resolution.
Each for $30,000 each, correct?
Okay. They are requirements contracts. What that means is none of these people are guaranteed a penny of that money unless they do some type of work for the department. That will depend on what type of funding we receive in the coming year, including any state or additional federal grants. So it's very possible they'll get nothing.
All right, so here's my problem. You had 4. 1 didn't make the muster. Power Sales Charters, Inc., I've been monitoring this particular company for the last couple of years. Do they have present contracts with the town of Hempstead right now?
Not with the town of Hempstead per se. If they have a contract with planning, I wouldn't know about that.
All right, well, they do, because I've seen their name on your roster for the last few years. This is a single-family house in East Rockaway. That's why I've red flagged this particular contract. And before this one is awarded, I think we need to know what the past contracts have been with the town of Hempstead. My understanding is this particular company has a Gmail of the individual principal only. He has no other work that he does. And if this is HUD subsidized, I think this contract needs to be vetted more before it's awarded.
Commissioner, correct me if I'm wrong.
Last year, Power Sale had a contract with my department.
See, so
They were paid $700.
Okay. They were paid $700, but they have the ability to make up to $30,000, correct? So, but what I'm saying to you, at least validate the fact that I have been monitoring this particular appraiser. I don't think I mean, if this is a HUD subsidized, he does have the ability to make $29,300 more. I think it needs to be vetted. I'd like to know what his resume is, since out of 4 resumes, 1 was chucked out. We don't get to see who the other one was, and I think there needs to be more vetting with these contracts.
Mr. Bakich, was last year the only year that Power Cell had a contract with us?
I'd have to go back, Councilman, actually, and look. You know, these come through the department, and there's other things.
And were there any issues last year with
Never
the
had
company?
any issues with any of these.
No, again, but because we've been in the mantra of rubber stamping, most of the contracts have come through here. We are going to do some ethical looking. I'm just letting you know that this is one of the areas that need to be vetted. Again, I don't know this appraiser has done any other work. He has a Gmail. And again, it's a single family house on the water in East Rockaway, which red flagged me 3 years ago. They've had a contract at least for 3 years.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Kazaza, as you know, we have a new statute that we'll be bringing in a compliance officer, and hopefully when we bring in a compliance officer, that will give the public more confidence in the contracting process. Next, we have Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. Item number 25. Could someone tell me a little bit more about this contract, which I raised this issue last year when this board passed this ridiculous, wasteful irritant that they spray at the front door?
What number are you asking, ma'am?
25.
Well, this is for, it's supposed to keep the air fresh or the scent fresh in the animal shelter. I don't understand, what's your question?
Well, you understand that it's mounted at the front door, and it is so overwhelming that the staff keep their window open to the right. And it is poisonous, and it is not a fragrant, it's an irritant.
Commissioner?
And for some reason, all of these years, we have managed the animal shelter without a contract for a scent machine at the front door.
Have they had the scent machine before at the animal shelter?
Commissioner
Marino, please come down.
Good morning, Supervisor, board members, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Good morning.
Contract is for a scent machine. We leave in the front. This is the second year. We started it last year. When I went to the Veterinary Guides to Animal Shelters website, which is When I contacted the Humane Society of the USA, they recommended this guide to animal shelters. And one of the things was certain scents are better for animals. So we tried this out. I actually thought it worked. I thought it's not that overpowering. I go in there and I think it helps with the scent of the animals. There's a lot of bleach and other smells in there, and I think it actually alleviates it. You may disagree, but...
Well, there's no bleach in that area. That's the front door. The bleach you would find in the kennels, and if there's an issue with bleach, it means that the solution is not being correctly mixed. This is a wasteful contract. I am interested to finding out what board members passed this contract or tried to. When you spoke or quoted Councilwoman Sweeney about your responsibility or elected officials' responsibility in running out of people's money, this is how you run out of people's money, by spending it wastefully for no purpose. And Mr. Marino, if you're going to start taking recommendations, maybe you should do so and start hiring qualified people instead of transferring wonderful people for the past 2 years that have been in the animal shelter, out of the animal shelter, and pulling in political connected employees into the animal shelter. So I think if you're going to take recommendations, those are the ones that affect the animals, the welfare of the animals. This is not helping the animal shelter. I would like to know where this contract came from, and again, why it's even on this resolution.
Can I just ask a question? The scent is one thing. The expenditures of money is another thing. What ingredient in this, and I'm asking this sincerely, what ingredients in this is poisonous?
Well, if you look on the website, I don't have it with me. I'll certainly be happy to email that to your office. Okay. These are considered irritants. It's not
okay, so they're not poisonous, they're irritants.
Well, irritants are poisonous. They're chemicals. You know, if you want to mince words, it's wasteful. Okay. It's wasteful.
Okay.
And in fact, what happened, they tried to mount this right outside an office, and because the employees started becoming ill, they moved it to the front door. So now the scent basically blows out the window or out the front door.
Okay, understood. Just trying to identify the poison, that's all.
Well, I will happily email you what is in these scents and fragrances, which are irritants. So, you know, on another note, these are the things that the public is very unhappy about seeing, you know, contracts like this that spend the public's money. This is why I asked for a deadline as to ethics reform. When a general inspector general is chosen, it cannot just be for $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 contracts. It's this kind of money that we also have to keep an eye on. Thank you.
Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Bond Street, Franklin Square, New York. Item number 45, it's case number 7, the resolutions regarding personnel. I stated last time that we should put a hold on all of this, especially if you're going to hire people that could be fired, could be let go, that's fine. But if you're hiring people that we're giving raises to people who, under the current CBA, as it's understood, salaries can't be reduced, nothing could happen unless they commit like a major crime, and we know we don't even punish that in this town, that we put a hold on everything. You know, the ethics law needs to come first. It comes to first, and to add the public participation in the ethics law was very necessary before passing this particular resolution, because right now the public has no outlet. I have to plead for you to, you know, please put forth an ethics complaint to John Ryan now. I can't do it myself. That had to come first. We're putting the cart before the horse here. On this current ethics, you know, this resolution regarding personnel, Michelle Hansen, I have her See Through New York, from See Through New York. We'll go through, I think she might have been part-time, the salaries were low, but it goes from, I think it's 35,000 in 2013, then 41, 44, 51, 59, 66, and then we're going to go to 67 or whatever it is, 69. Whatever, it's almost doubling her salary. Then her husband, once again, doubling the salary within, 2014, 2013 to 2017 in 5 years. And there's no accountability. As people would love to have their salary doubled in that shorter period of time. I don't think the average person gets that. I don't think these are justifiable. Michelle Hansen, just December 12th, acting on behalf of Supervisor Santino, let the clock run. Not for me, the one who raises hell here, but another guy who was talking very respectfully to the board regarding his father, the plumber. And Michelle Hansen, on behalf of Santino, let the clock run while other officials were speaking. She has violated, and I have on video, numerous times, the ethics, violating the public officers law, the federal. Let me speak, please. You will have your turn.
I don't think it's very appropriate what you're saying about Ms. Hansen.
I am speaking accurately, and I could verify everything I say with video, unlike what you say. Okay? It's simple as that. And let me finish speaking, and then you can speak. She has given money. The Board of Election Records have shown that her family has given money to D'Esposito, Santino, Murray, Erin King Sweeney. So she's giving campaign contributions.
I'm actually not sure that's accurate.
Well, it's on the list. Either her husband or you, her. But it came up in the Board of Elections I looked up last night. Anyway.
Okay, Mr. Procacci, with respect to some of the personnel resolutions that involve my staff, I need to bring my staff on in order to perform my duties as a supervisor.
I said in the beginning, as long as those people can be let go, that's fine. If you're going to bring people who aren't going to fall under that CBA agreement, that you're bringing them on, and then they have that, like everyone else. Like I said, if I worked for the Trump administration, if Trump quit, if Trump didn't get elected, I'd be let go. That's the name of the game here. What happened on December 12th was not the norm. Transferring and promoting 192 people en masse under secrecy of the board and everything with no justification. Even Mr. Santino could not justify to the public why he did it. Mr. Ross said, and I quote, "It speaks for itself." The agreement speaks. I mean, come on. It speaks for, that's what they say when they don't want to explain their decision. And like I've pushed all of you to do this. You're not required by law, but it's important for the public to hear this. And the reason why it's important to have that ethics law for the public is because we don't have any outlet. Everything with us is in Article 78. Everything. Imagine if every time you had to punish your kids, you had to file an Article 78 first. You had to hire an attorney. Would they ever get punished? No. Would anyone ever get punished if you had to go through an Article 78 first? That's the only punishment. When you guys violate my rights or the rights of other people in this room, the only outlet we have is hiring an attorney, doing it ourselves, and learning how to the court system, which is very daunting. At least $700 in fees just to get past the door. It's unfair. The ethics law needed to come first before the resolutions. The numbers I read out are accurate right from there. And the Board of Elections, she has given contributions to many people who vote on her raise.
Mr. Procacci, if I may, and this is actually, I'm going to be scary to say, I actually don't disagree with everything that you said. But what I do disagree with, and I think that some of my colleagues on the board disagree with, is to, single out a person and her family for what's really their right, their democratic right, to donate money to whoever they want to. And for you to insinuate that they're only getting raises or moving up the ladder in government because of those donations is wrong. And that's good. Well, everyone could laugh as much as they want, but that's the problem here, is that, okay, I let you finish, let me finish, and I think that that's the issue. Perhaps we could have a conversation about the issues that you raised, but when you identify certain people like Ms. Hansen, Mr. Hansen, who quite honestly work very hard for the town of Hempstead, And when you identify them as the only reason as to why they're doing, well, that's exactly how it sounds to the rest of the people and the people that are watching and the people that are watching your video online. It sounds like you're identifying them because of the money that they donate, and I think that's wrong.
Well, absolutely. When I've asked...
So we agree, great.
Yeah, we agree on that. When I've asked, and you've been here when I've asked, and even before you came here, I've asked, why is somebody getting a $20,000 raise? You know, oh, department needs. The department said this. Everything. And then when I ask the question, like when I have problems with the town clerk's office with foils, which I've had over many years, many of the people here have dealt with me on foils, and I've asked, they went past due on it. They didn't give a proper response.
Mr. Procacci,
they violated norm.
I'm sorry, your time is up. I cannot give you an additional time. In addition, I believe that the clerk's office requested a raise from Ms. Hansen to bring her pay up to the pay that other supervisors in that office receive.
Sure, and I get that.
Can I say something? Actually, Felix, I'm the one that requested the raise for Ms. Hansen. She, as I told you, other supervisors in the office are making significantly more money than her. The reason that I chose to give her a raise, obviously, she's not ever donated anything to me, obviously, and I would never expect that of any of my employees. She gets to the office often at 6 or 7 in the morning. She does not take a lunch. She stays late. She has done everything in her power to try and help me as I transition into this role as clerk. She's a very hardworking, good employee. I decided I was the one. She didn't even come to me. I came to her. So I just want you to know it has nothing to do with. I'm just trying to recognize somebody for hard work, just like I would recognize you, and I would expect. That's the only reason I did it, Felix.
That's fine.
Okay, we have to move on to our next
She
resident.
does violate the constitutional rights of many residents.
She's an employee. She's doing what she's told. She's not trying to violate anybody's rights.
Okay, the next person I have is Rory Gordon.
Good afternoon, Board. Rory Gordon, Hauppauge, New York. I just wanted to, on number 38, which was already discussed, power sale charters, DBA power sale appraisals. There's no hourly rate. How do they determine what they get paid?
Mr. Baker.
Ordinarily, appraisers are paid based on the magnitude of the job that they're given. So we would get a fee quote prior to employing them for a specific job.
There is absolutely no internet presence for power sale appraisals. How can we as citizens check into what their qualifications are? Who in today's world has no internet presence? I mean, every single one of you do. This organization has none. I find that very troubling.
We did just discuss this item, but if you'd like to hear it again, we can call Mr. Bakich back to talk about power sale.
Only thing I'm asking is how did you come to pick them without any internet presence?
How planning works this is they do requests for proposals, and then the number of proposals are given in, and they select various entities to meet their needs. So it's vetted by a committee at the Department of Planning and Economic Development.
And that money that's spent, is that foilable?
Sure, yes.
Okay, that brings me to number 39. On number 39, you have a contract here for Beckman, Hennick, Peterson, Petty, and Finkel. What I don't understand is how you can hire this particular firm to pay them up to, I forget what it was, $50,000 or $100,000, when we have foiled bills from them and they are now appearing to be working for free in the litigation Green 2009 against the town of Hempstead. So can somebody explain to me why the bills are not foilable? And that means if they're not foilable for Green 2009, why would they be foilable in this particular situation?
Well, I think I disagree with your premise that the bills are not foilable. Their bills are foilable.
Mr. Procacci has foiled twice the bills from March 2017 until today, and there has been no bill turned in by Beckman Hennick whatsoever. As of today, as of March 17th, $700,000 has been spent in litigation fees in this particular case. That's $700,000 of the taxpayers' money that could go to, Jesus Christ, so many good programs that we have. And it seems like they vanished after March 2017.
The only thing I can say to you is that I'll look into it, but if their bills, their legal bills are foilable.
I understand that, and I know for a fact that there are no bills found. I read the foils myself. Okay, let me move on. Can somebody explain to me what the Association of Towns of the State, that number 22 is?
One of the resolutions is to pay the annual dues, and the other two resolutions is to have members of the town of Hempstead, Councilwoman Gooseby, the town clerk, attend the annual meeting of the Association of Towns.
What does that annual meeting cover? What does it do? I looked it up. I couldn't find any information online. I mean, I found a website, but what specifically do we get from this meeting?
I believe the meeting has a number of training seminars and informational presentations. Councilwoman Gooseby, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, is an officer with the Association of Towns. So they're having a workshop. Some of our staff, Sylvia Cabana, is going to attend, our clerk. They're having training seminars for clerks, new issues coming up in clerking, things like that. So it's just a useful presentation that this is Association of Towns throughout New York State, that they have this big weekend, and they have various informational sessions like that.
And we have training for attorneys as well, so they can come and get the educational critics that are due them, anyone who works in towns.
Okay, because the way that I read
So
it
they can do that.
Generally, the town supervisors attend, and I would think it would be in your best interest that you attend because you're the newbie here. And I mean, I would think it'd be wonderful for you to go.
But she can come if she wants. No one stopped her. But I am the delegate, and I am a member of the board. And I have served as president of the Association of Towns.
I understand that, but the $2,125 is for you. There is nothing in the budget here for Laura to go.
That's in the budget. If she wanted to come, she can come. I have no questions about her.
There was an issue of whether I was going to be actually speaking that we're in the process of resolving.
Okay, thank you.
Mary Ellen Cray.
Thank you. Mary Ellen Cray, 436 Locust Avenue, Uniondale. My question is about 1 and 2, where the homes are located in Uniondale.
Yes, I'm sorry. Commissioner Rockamp, will you speak to this, please?
Good morning, Supervisor, members of Town Board. Yeah, there's several locations on Uniondale. I can give you the list when I'm done reading them. 678 Clinton Avenue, 1027 Ditmas Avenue, 486 Hawthorne Avenue, 418 Locust Avenue, 774 Macron Avenue, 828 Park Avenue, 643 Southern Parkway, 168 Walton Avenue, 273 Warren Street, and 526 Southern Parkway.
Thank you. And then on number 2, the assessment for professional services.
Those were included in that list I just read.
I see. Thank you. On item number 30, removing premises from the GSS district.
This is an abandoned gas station which has been vacant for about 10 years, and they're currently in the gasoline service station district. They're giving up that zoning designation to revert back to business district.
Hold her time for 1 second. With respect to your first question, Commissioner, do you have any idea about how many zombie homes we have in the town of Hempstead?
We have about 1,026 currently. And what we're doing is, as we speak, we're putting together lists of all those. We're having the inspectors go back out on those to see the status of them, because as time has gone on, some of them have come off the vacant registry type of status, that they're no longer vacant. And then this way we're going to have a more condensed list. I would assume by the time we do this, it'll probably be around 500.
Someone told me that there's no incentive for the banks to sell those properties.
No, that's not true, because of the laws that this town board has passed with them having to put money in escrow. Now it's an incentive for them to do that so they don't have to keep that money in escrow.
Yes, we've had 2 homes on Henry Street which had been boarded up and so on, which are now occupied. I don't know, they had been sold, and it's very nice to see that there are people in those now. But it is daunting to look at the number of homes throughout the town, especially on this particular list, and to realize I didn't count them up, but I bet it's going up to 75 or so. So it's quite a number, and quite daunting when you think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mary Gardner. Okay. I do not have any more slips. Is there anybody else who would like to be heard on the administrative calendar?
Hi, my name's Patty Miller, downtown East Meadow. I just had a quick thought about the fragrance issue at the shelter. Aside from the fact that there are many, many fragrances that are, in fact, very detrimental to cats' health, and it's outside the new cattery, which only has 1 door, so that could be an issue depending upon the cat's fragility. But aside from that, being that it was a contract that was awarded, and as we've seen over the last few years, there's been no enrichment, and there's been complaints of the cost of a Kong per dog because of the amount of animals still there, I found it a little bit disheartening than when the gentleman that was here was looking for things for the shelter, that fragrance would come up, because in a well-run shelter or rescue, you really don't have to mask odors. You should be cleaning. So when that came up versus something like an enrichment that evidently was not in the original budget, I would be hoping that they would be looking to keeping the animals healthy in a more fundamental way. So when that money comes out again, I would just think that it would be probably better spent elsewhere.
Is there anybody else who wants to be heard on the administrative calendar?
Lucille Defina, Merritt, New York. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to point out as far as contracts and money being spent on the animal shelter. This is definitely not one of them. And enrichment is so obviously needed at the shelter, to the point that just recently, when there was a press conference there, the media wanted to go through the kennels, and they were given some ridiculous excuse why the media should not go through the kennels. We tried to urge them that that was not true, and they had every right to go through the kennels, but they shook their head and said, no, we've been through this before, so it doesn't matter. We had hoped that changed and that the shelter would look different. And I really hope there starts to be things in the cage, toys, enrichment for the dogs, for the cats, and that those cages are presentable and decent for those poor animals so they can have a better quality of life. And these are the kinds of things you should be thinking about, not a fragrance in the front. The other thing is I just have a question. I don't know what this is. Item 20, authorizing payment to general code for the annual maintenance of the Town of Hempstead E-Code 360. What is that?
As the town passes new local laws, there's a town code book that gets published, and these are the people who publish it. So they, as we publish new laws, they have to be put into the book and put online, and this is the company that does it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mita J. Meriday, Baldwin resident. Let's see, Councilman D'Esposito, there's an agency for toxic substance and disease registry that could give you a list of perfumes and things of that nature that, yes, can be poisonous and toxic, not a problem. And for someone like myself as a 9/11 first responder with COPD and other certified conditions, the rugs that I inhale as I come to these meetings between whatever is blowing out of the system here is very toxic to me and my health. But because of the needs for those who cannot be here, I have to come before you on these occasions. I'm glad that someone asked the question about the zombie homes, and to know that there's over 1,000 in this list today. There are 110 of these homes that are listed as open and abandoned. And in previous meetings here, I've been asked whether I knew the gentleman who serves the township with regard to veteran services, Mr. Rick Gales. I have met him on numerous occasions, and I'm still very upset with regard to the lack of extensive resources that we need for a township that has, according to the U.S. Census as of 2016, over 28,000 veterans. And we also have what is listed again, but there's no integrity in the due process of the numbers, over 3,900 veteran businesses. Not to mention there are about 15,000 minority-owned and about 16,000 women-owned businesses. Why do we put those numbers out there? As previously mentioned with regard to contracts, I have yet to hear, and maybe I've missed it, but I seem to have been at quite a few of these town meetings over the course of years. I've yet to hear or see any type of intervention, inclusion, or outreach with numbers that speak to benchmarks in terms of how many veteran, women, and minority-owned businesses are involved in any of these practices and procedures, from professional services to the actual shovel-ready type, architecture and construction. Can someone speak to that?
Well, can I ask the town attorney a question?
I can speak to this first.
Are we allowed? You want to speak to it first?
Yeah, please. We are trying to develop right now. We're in the process of developing a registry of veteran-owned businesses, so we can try to match them with whatever contracts are going out and see if they are readily available and able to do any of the contracts that we have coming out. So we are working on it. It's time-consuming. It's a lot of work, but we are working on that aspect amongst a lot of other programs that we're looking at for veterans right now in the town of Hempstead that we don't have.
Dennis, and the idea is that we would be reaching out proactively to those veterans instead of waiting for them to reach out to us.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Are we allowed by law, Mr. Ra, to create preferences for veterans?
No, you're not.
What are we allowed to do to help veterans?
You can do what Councilman Dunn said, constituent outreach. Let them know that these contracts are available to be bid on, or requests for proposals to make sure they know about them. I think planning and economic development does that in certain circumstances, but though you can do that kind of reach out. But the state is allowed to do preferences, but the town of Hempstead is not.
Are we allowed to do a program like we do with respect to minority and women-owned businesses, where we try to target a certain percentage of the work to veterans businesses? Would we be allowed to do that?
You mean a quota? In other words, 5% of the work goes to
a target.
once again, you can
Minority and
do,
women-owned businesses,
you
I
can
think
make
our target
sure,
is 15%. Is that correct?
you can make sure that these businesses know that these contracts are available to bid on, or the town is asking for requests for proposals, and make sure, instead of just doing the publications that are allowed by, required by law, you can send out direct mail to them to let them know. Those are the kinds of things you can do.
Would we be allowed under the law, let's say, if, I think for minority and women-owned businesses, our target's 10% or 15%? Does anybody know the answer to that question? It was 15. 15. So let's say we said, you want to come forward?
And while he's coming forward, just because there is a law per se that does not negate the responsibility or the, let's just say, the innovation from the township, considering the percentages that you have in this area to actively, to proactively address that. And just quickly to Councilman Dunn, I'm curious as to who is the we and how is this happening?
We is me.
Okay.
And I've reached out to, I know we spoke numerous times. I was hoping that you would actually maybe assist us in this effort of compiling this list. I know we've had this conversation many times. I had asked you to send me a list because I assume you have a list. If not, we could certainly do it on our own. But I'm going to be the one putting that list together with the councilman.
But he mentioned that there was some difficulty, and the problem that I'm having is, as far as sending you a list, you have to develop that internally, and the integrity of the listing that's on the Census Bureau has not been proven. There's no due diligence on what's listed as to the 3,900 listed veteran-owned businesses that are here in the township. You would have better access to get to them, and I would be willing to assist you in providing that due diligence to make that happen. But if I had not brought this up at this occasion, when would I know? When would that list be out, and when would these opportunities be available? But we'll talk.
Okay.
Thank you.
Happy to. And to the other councilman's question, I think you were referring to the targets that the state mandates us to follow when we receive money, particularly the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. It's 15% for women's owned business and minority owned businesses each.
Is there any target under the state law for veterans?
No.
No, there is none. And how would I know that? Only because I've been doing this for almost 20 years.
If you remember, in the county, we did include them. So we're looking to do that here, include veterans as a minority-owned business.
But federal funded projects, and I see that you do have some federal funded projects on here, particularly item number 39, where it says federally funded community development activities. There's a 3% mandated goal just for service-disabled veteran-owned businesses, not veteran-owned businesses. But I would think there should be a good faith effort to be inclusive of all veteran-owned businesses as we pertain to these types of projects. So I am encouraged at least by this, and he has spoken to me to his credit. So I do look forward to working with him in that regard. And while I still have some time, thank you.
Thank you.
While I still have some time, item 34, just curious as to the rescinding resolution awarding a contract of site work. Just if I could get a little more background on that one. Item, I say 34? 34. Yeah, item 34.
I believe the original bidder backed out of the bid, and we just...
One at Shell Creek Park and Island Park?
Yes.
I think what happened was, from what I understand, and I could be corrected by Commissioner Lino, but from what I understand is that there was a contract, an RFP put out for a contract to do work to make our bathrooms and some walkways ADA compliant. Upon review by the town Parks Department, we decided that we were able and had the ability and workmanship to conduct the work in-house. So we canceled the bid and did it with our own CSEA workforce.
Okay, and are we doing that same review process with other projects that we're utilizing our...
I can only speak on the parks in my district, but I know that was the case. That was the specific case for this Shell Creek Park and Island Park.
Okay, thank you for that. Item 15, accepting the bid from New York State Governor's Office, the storm recovery project for permanent generator for a Meadowmere Park. I'm not sure where that is located.
Oh, I want to tell you where that is.
Okay. Tell me.
Meadowmere Park is just south of Kennedy Airport, and it is just west of Rockaway Turnpike. There is one road in, there is one road out. It is a very small, lovely community of which my nephew lived there. He was a member of the volunteer fire department, and unfortunately, he died on the job as a state court officer in 9/11, lending first aid to a woman in Tower 2 when it collapsed on him. So Meadowmere Park is very dear to my heart, and it's a wonderful community that was hit very, very badly by Superstorm Sandy, and they have a lot of needs and a lot of issues as a result of that storm, and we're just trying now to do our part to get them back after, you know, what they've been through is a tremendous hardship. You ought to go visit that community. It's a very, very beautiful and interesting, small, close-knit community in Nassau County that you would never know was there.
Well, I've been past there because I had to go to traffic court in that area, so I'm familiar with that. The reason I asked about that resolution, my question was, are all firehouses supplied with the adequate generators pertaining to these types of resources? Because I know the firehouse that's right around the corner from me was very timely and supportive of our residents, as all of our firehouses are, particularly in times of need. So my question had to do with that. And lastly, on item 47, just a question of the selection process, and as was previously stated earlier, and if I could just finish my point, I will leave my seat and won't need public safety to remove me. North Shore court reporting, just trying to understand why we did not have anyone from the South Shore. We have a town of North Hempstead and we have a town of Hempstead, so just trying to understand why we weren't inclusive of someone from
North Shore Court Reporting Agency, who I think might be located in right over the border in North Hempstead or Oyster Bay, a number of years ago started work for the town of Hempstead, and their numbers are their numbers are comparable to the other reporting companies, and they did work for the Landmark Preservation Committee at their meetings, and this is to pay them for their stenographic services.
Okay, but I am still asking as to why we're not looking at these local businesses in the town of Hempstead, because we're paying taxes here, and it would be nice if we can be inclusive of not only veteran minority women, but also local businesses, which is an initiative.
There are other stenographic reporting services that we use in the town. There
Okay.
are others.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard on the administrative calendar? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on the administrative calendar with the exception of the items that have been tabled?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King-Sweeney. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. May I have a motion to adjourn? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilwoman King-Sweeney. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. All right, that concludes the formal portion of our meeting. We now move into public comment. People who wish to be heard. Stephanie Capuano.
Hi. Thank you, Laura. And thanks for doing the audit, and it was great to see you the other day. And I'm Stephanie Capuano Wantor. I'm sorry about your friend. My mom died when she was 42 of breast cancer, and my aunt, favorite aunt.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'm here to talk as an advocate for the animals. I appreciate everybody here. I thank you all because you do great You have an expertise that is amazing. And this has been an education to be here. Don't have a lot of time to talk, so I wrote things down. You're all important to me, and you do a great public service. And I hate to just sit here and complain, but I want to thank you and celebrate our differences. True rescues know how little it takes to make an animal happy and a content animal, and we strive for that. We're devoted. And you better believe if I saw a shaking dog, I'd be soothing him. I'd be outside taking a leash and walking a dog. I'd be walking through the cat room, greeting them with respect and dignity and a commitment to do anything I could to save that animal. I would not be leaving early during a snowstorm. I'd be trying to make it better. It's not just a job. It's a devotion. I would paint that disgusting peeled paint and spruce up that animal shelter. It's gross. It is dismal, and if I was trying to go to adopt an animal, if you want to move the animals and truly get happy people and contented people in charge. Anyway, I would paint, and it is smelly. Oh my God, go in there. It's overwhelming when you walk in, that smell. It's disgusting. I'd rather smell a dog that just went to the bathroom than that. You can't inhale that. Go and see what it's like. And we're not just complaining to complain. So anyway, we're devoted to the animals. I've done rescue for 20 years. Thank God my mother gave me that kindness towards the animals. And I did minority studies for inner cities in school, social work. I did domestic violence. I was a social worker. I loved your dad, Peter King. He helped me with the animals in the past. Before these girls, I've gone to the shelter and I've seen what goes on in there. And thank God for these girls that it's been turning, because we want to make you aware that animal people should be in charge, not just anybody. I mean, the job should go elsewhere, town and union jobs. It should be for animal advocates, people that really have a great understanding of the animals and what it takes to make them content, and how you can move them, and how you can talk to people that come in that try to adopt these animals. Maybe they don't have to relinquish their animal. Maybe if they knew about that food pantry. There are other alternatives. So, and I also just want to say that if everybody's telling you there's a problem with this guy, then there's a problem with this guy. We need a person that will work with people and that will work with the animals. And certainly, as they share great pain, just like humans, in that instance, they are our equals. They also have emotions. When I'm happy, they're happy. Like when I come home from work, not just because they want to be fed, because I'm happy. So we have happy animals. I saw a cat laying by his friend that just got hit by a car. They have emotions. They're kind of like children. I also saw a need to help because of community, because I looked at my life and money wasn't enough. I knew the shelter was bad in the 80s when I moved there, and I don't know why you would put people in charge that really don't do rescue or experience empathy. That doesn't make sense, especially somebody that can't even walk a dog or go. I've talked to countless people that work in there. He hasn't even once walked through the cat room. That's amazing to me that a director wouldn't even walk around or greet a cat or say hello to a dog. Or you work in the shelter, you're a director. Does that mean you just have to do managerial things? No. You don't leave early during a snowstorm. You care. You show empathy. You shouldn't be letting any old body do ear tips that come out crooked, that aren't a qualified lab technician, especially if he has a shaking hand, this guy. And they come out, half the ear is chopped off. That's not supposed to be. They don't chop off half the ear. So I wanted to say that I want to honor my mother for teaching me kindness, and also honor my cat for keeping me alive. And that's how I started rescue, because a doctor perforated my esophagus in Las Vegas, of which I did not win my lawsuit. They said I looked too good. Anyway, I had emergency thoracic surgery, and this is what I like to do. This is what I love to do. We have so many people that are experts in our area that need to be in there, that need to get this job done for you guys. In Nassau, we can clean it up. We've done TNR. You can see it. We've taken kittens and cats out. Anyway, also I want to say that I went to college and I did all this, and what good can I do on this planet? It's not just about making money. I could live right now in a resort if I wanted to. I could. We have to celebrate our differences, and also I want to say that's not what you really want. I'm sure you all have good intentions for whatever reason that you hired people like this initially, but let's get on the right track now, and
not mess around. I'm here to honor also Ben, the dog whisperer, that it came to that he was very qualified for the dogs, and he didn't get the job and now he's dying of pancreatic cancer, and I just want to honor him for all his service to the shelter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Capuano. And I'm told the animal shelter is being painted this week, and we are looking at the animal shelter, taking your allegations seriously, exploring what's going on there, and we will do the best to make sure, I'm sure everybody on the town board shares my concern for the animals, to make sure that they are being treated properly at the animal shelter. Next, we have William McCabe.
William McCabe, Floral Park, New York. Mr. Ra, who determines what steps are taken and what steps are taken in a lawsuit that is against the town?
Mr. McCabe, if you're speaking with respect to your lawsuit, the free air lawsuit,
yes.
We are aware of the decision. We're exploring our options right now. We can't reveal privileged confidential communications, but the board is now considering what the next step is to do with respect to your lawsuit, and I expect that we'll have some resolution on that fairly soon.
Well, there's a conference tomorrow with the judge on that lawsuit, and there's been the outside counsel, Berkman and Hennick, whose information and bills I've foiled, and I haven't gotten those foils either. And Felix has foiled those for the free air case as well, so I could back up what Rory was saying. But anyhow, there's been that outside counsel asked for a discovery. That outside counsel asked for depositions and has appealed. And the town lost the lawsuit. The judge has determined it to be unconstitutional to charge for air, compressed air, because there's a state law that supersedes that. So it's unconstitutional, and the town is appealing it, and has petitioned the judge to appeal it tomorrow. Is that something that the board intends to do when there's been?
You, but for the benefit of the public, there's a temporary restraining order. The case is not settled. You're a litigant in a case against Dana Hempstead, and we're not going to discuss pending litigation in this room.
I am not a litigant.
We're not going to discuss pending litigation in this room.
So the town is continuing with the lawsuit that 3 council members have openly said they disagree with mandating free compressed air in the town of Hempstead. The town is continuing with that lawsuit, and it is estimated that it will cost over $100,000 to the taxpayers if discovery, if deposition, and the appeal goes through. And the taxpayers need to know that.
Mr. McCabe, we are evaluating our position in this lawsuit. That's all I can say right now, but I'm sure that our outside counsel or our in-house counsel will be in touch with your counsel to decide what the next steps are.
That's tomorrow. So it's concerning to me that there's 3 council members that have openly come out against this, and the town is continuing to waste taxpayer dollars. And I'm not going to go away. I'm going to continue to publicize that.
Councilman, the more we say, the worse off we are.
Without saying anything that could jeopardize our position, tomorrow there is a court hearing on this matter?
There's a conference. Yes.
There's a conference. Okay. We will get back to you.
Okay.
We will get back to his attorneys if that's okay, Councilman. Okay.
My attorney has reached out to your office, or not my attorney.
I'm aware, Mr. McCabe. We're not going to discuss pending litigation in this room.
You've returned no phone.
We're not going to discuss pending litigation in this room. It's not accurate, but we're not going to.
I hope to see that there's something different going on tomorrow at 9:30. Because I'm just going to continue to publicize the amount of money that this is going to cost. And I'm going to continue to come to every meeting and continue to speak on Open Nassau and every other venue I possibly can, and continue to work with all of these other folks that have problems and lawsuits from all of the stupidity and the things that have gone on here. The unanswered phone calls, the being forced to vote on certain laws and certain things because that's what the supervisor wanted. All of that stuff we're not going to stop until the money is stopped being wasted. Another $100,000 for this.
I just want to
There
be
must
clear
be
that
some-
I was not the supervisor
No, you
during
were
the
not.
free air case.
I am very sorry. Yes, you certainly were not. But I mean, another $100,000. Mr. Blakeman, you just said that you want to save money in litigation by going through all of these different things and by getting rid of some of this stuff. If this goes through, it's going to cost.
Mr. McCabe.
Yes.
I can't talk to you about the specifics on advice of counsel, taken on faith that the supervisor and all the members of the town board are interested in resolving the issue.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. I don't have anything else to say.
Stuart Kroll. Stuart Kroll. Okay. Lucille Defina.
Well, I was going to come up here and continue to speak about the animal shelter, but what just happened and what was just spoken about is very important also. So I think I want to talk a little bit more about these lawsuits, because this is what is happening across the board. These lawsuits and all these lawsuits that are now in place, people didn't want to do this. They had to do this. When you have elected officials who are harassing, attacking, and ruining people's life, livelihood, and tormenting them and abusing their power, you have to file a lawsuit. I know. I was one of them. I had to do that. But now, Councilman Blakeman says there's a new philosophy here. And that's not happening, and they're not going to waste residents, taxpayers' dollars on useless, senseless lawsuits just to keep people out. And that's why these lawsuits are in place, and that's what the public needs to know, that your past administration used lawsuits, pushed people into filing lawsuits so that they can keep these people, these selected people, what you consider the troublemakers, out of town government and make us feel like our word cannot be heard. You've shut us down. You've kept us quiet. You've sat there year after year and used these lawsuits to not answer questions and to keep things quiet, to keep us at bay. And it's not right. That's an abuse of power. And that's wasting taxpayers' money. And I can only tell you that everyone that became active in reforming this administration and trying to get new policies and people in place here are for this reason. And they're all sitting here and they're all active. And I speak to all of them. And they all thought it was going to be a new day. And their attorneys are contacting this town attorney, and no one is getting callbacks. No one is complying. No one wants to sit down and talk. The roadblock is still there. And this town board needs to know that if you truly are going to look into these lawsuits, you have to do it yourselves. I don't suggest that you let the town attorney and your elected officials who are doing this continue.
Mita Meriday.
Mita J. Meriday, Baldwin resident. I can't even deal with lawsuits after having to deal with the county and $45 million in that scenario. But we just seem to not focus on getting it right ahead of time. So unfortunately, people do suffer. Our animals suffer. Our veterans suffer. Taxpayers suffer because we are the ones who have to dig deeper. And justified or not, we don't get the opportunity to get raises in October and December and February every other 2 months, it seems like it happens. And, you know, great work. I get it. I understand that. And people should be valued and appreciated for the work that they do. But if they're already getting a good salary, then they should be appreciative of that, because, you know, I have to deal with the fact that, you know, 1 in 4 of our homeless population are veterans, and veterans have the largest veteran unemployment rate in the country versus the national average. So that's kind of my reality. But I always applaud those who have been here, you know, through the various and sundry administrations and leaderships and shenanigans that have taken place in this township for their unwavering support of animals. And for as long as I can hold it together with the issues that I am addressing, I will continue the fight. Sometimes it seems like it is a lonely battle, but it's okay, you know, because I am going to continue to advocate and to speak up and to bring light into dark places for our veterans. Even though I have not served specifically in combat zones, some of the areas that I have been in would rival some of where our service members have been. So I will continue to do that. And one of the things that I continue to stress that we need to address, and I also share my condolences for the loss, having lost my best friend as well to breast cancer, and being put in a position of looking at in the eyes of her 8-year-old and 10-year-old children, but taking on that responsibility to help to raise them. And proud to say that the oldest daughter is a second lieutenant in the U.S. Air Force, and her son is a graduate of RPI, which is a leading engineering school. So there is light after the darkness, so be encouraged with that. Well, we really need to do a better job, and as was previously said, there was hope that this new day would bring in a new way, and we're only talking less than 60 days in, so I still have to remain hopeful, but I want to encourage and implore those who are the decision makers and those who were elected by those of us out here who stood in the cold, who made phone calls, who gave up time with our own families, who lost work or lost our own employment, but we still have to continue to pay taxes, to hear our voices, return our calls, and to meet with us so that we can work together to bring some change.
Ms. Meriday, I appreciate your advocacy on behalf of our veterans, and I believe we've been reaching out to you to get your input on how we can improve our veterans services, and certainly yours is a voice that we want involved in our process. We're also looking to improve and revitalize our Veterans Advisory Board. That's something that Councilman Dunn and I have talked about. The other members of the town board are also interested in these things, and we do appreciate your input, and we will look for it going forward.
Thank you. Lastly, with regard to a question about the sales tax that we receive from the county, I believe sales tax and mortgage tax, just have a question as to how that money is distributed through town programs and training. We need training. Board needs training. I mean, I appreciate those who attend sessions and activities and things of that nature, but if we don't get the reports back, if we don't get the information back, if the staff is not given training in terms of how they deal with the constituencies themselves, we have a problem. You know,
what kind of training are you talking about in particular?
Whether we're talking about diversity training, cultural awareness, sensitivity training, you know, again, residents are very intimidated, even to the point where they don't want to approach this board, which is their right to do, because they feel that they're going to be intimidated, they're going to be yelled at, or as in my own personal case, and I am still awaiting an apology, threatened with removal for speaking my First Amendment right to freedom of speech. That's a problem. And the ongoing lack of diversity just in the hiring practices, this doesn't take away from anybody's position or that, but if you're not given the opportunity, it's great to say, yes, we're going to do outreach, but who do you reach out to? If you have the same circle of people, and I go to various meetings in the township and the county, I'm seeing the same people going from one job to the next, or if they lose an election, they get a higher paying job someplace else that my tax dollars are paying for. I'm one of the few voices that are not ashamed to bring it up. But we have to address that, because it will come up, you know, in the court of law or in other aspects, because people are getting frustrated, they're getting tired. So we really need to start thinking about that and in diversifying the people who are actually performing the work, not just picking our brains. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meriday. Diane Madden.
I have a question to start with. For many years, before you were elected, Supervisor Gillen, Mr. Pastore was in attendance of every one of these meetings. I'm just wondering if there, and I don't believe he's here today, I'm wondering if there's a new policy change that he's not here, what that reason would be suddenly after January 1st, that this has dramatically changed.
I'm not aware of any policy change. Mr. Marino, do you? He's off today. I was looking for him at the last town board meeting as well.
He's not been at any town board meeting. I believe, if I recall correctly, you did ask him to come up and speak, but he was not present. So, again, just to bring that to your attention.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you for moving forward with the audit. That means a lot to the community and so much more to the animals than to us. I also wanted to talk about, it's not just the lawsuits that are being obstructed and countless dollars continue to be wasted. And of course, the objective there previous to your administration is that this really well-funded, many of these attorneys for Santino and for Kate Murray kept them, really bringing in the money. Joe Ra's answer was always, file a lawsuit if you're not happy. And like Lucille said, people had no choice but to do that. As we speak,
if there are specific allegations of communications that are not phone calls that aren't being returned, you can make us aware of them, and I'm sure Mr. Ra and I will follow up with them if you're not hearing from our outside counsel in response to calls from your counsel. In terms of litigation, while I can't get into the specifics of any lawsuit, we are evaluating the merits of litigation, and those are discussions between counsel that I can't get into at a town board meeting.
Absolutely, and I don't expect you to, but you need to be aware that suddenly all of the hammers have come down on many of these lawsuits, not just speaking about myself. I probably will choose to go to trial. I want it on record what's been going on in this town, what's been going on in that shelter. Not in any hurry, but I want to let you know that a lot of money is being spent on some of these lawsuits needlessly and wastefully, and that's not what the taxpayers were voting for in November. They were voting for change. With regards to some comments that were made against Mr. Procacci, I want to take this time in knowing him since 2010, knowing his dedication, knowing he's in here, filming every one of these videos.
What comments are you talking about?
The comments when he brought up the issue about the raises. And Mr. Procacci has done all of the things he's done to bring transparency. I can't speak on behalf of the taxpayers, but I can tell you that the residents and the taxpayers are more grateful to him than anyone else in this room because he brings transparency free of charge. I also wanted to mention that there is a current, well, she was the employee at the animal shelter, Dolores Stormo, who was a volunteer coordinator with Bite-A-Wee for over 20 years, has a background in her expertise, never had a problem at Bite-A-Wee, never had a problem at Town of Hempstead until Mr. Pastore was hired, and even worse when Mr. Marino took over as a commissioner. They are torturing this woman. She's continuing an arbitration. She is continuing a case that she will surely win. She has been targeted by not only officials to get her out, as they successfully got out all of the other experts, but she's also targeted by some volunteers that were handpicked and planted by Santino and Mangano. So I think you need to be aware of what's going on with these people, and I'm sure you're not, that put all of their faith in you, that they would no longer be tortured. And this is going on townwide. So please take a look at that and find out why her arbitration is even moving forward. Again, she should be back at the animal shelter. She should be helping to take volunteer applications and move forward with that. She should be back to where she was and where there was never a problem until Jerry Marino came in and did Santino's dirty work.
So this is pending litigation with Ms.?
No, this is an arbitration.
Arbitration.
Thank you.
I think that what also should be discussed at this meeting, this isn't directly for you, Ms. Madden, but we started this meeting with directions that we should all be respectful to one another, respect the board, respect each other, those who have taken the time to be here today. To have speakers, and I don't agree with everything that you said, and obviously that's democracy to disagree, but we have speakers like Mr. McCabe comes up, says his piece, never accuses anyone of any criminal acts. He may disagree with them, but he stands by his beliefs, and I respect that. But when we have people coming up here and basically accusing our workforce of crimes, whether it's abuse of power, whether it's conspiracy, whatever the case may be, I think that this board should stand up for our workforce. If there's an issue, those issues should be sent to the DA's office and held accordingly. But if not, we should follow our own rules that we distribute prior to the meeting and show some respect to one another. It's not fair that we have members of our workforce who aren't here, aren't able to defend themselves. If that's what this is going to be, and this is going to be a bashing of our workforce, which you're absolutely entitled to have that. Go ahead. What, you have a question for me? Okay, let me finish first. You're entitled to your opinion, okay? But to accuse people of criminal acts is an issue. To say Mr. Ra is abusing his power, if he is, then send it to the DA's office and let them deal with it.
As an attorney, I will tell you that since this is a matter in litigation, it is not prudent to have people on our town board or our commissioners get into a dispute with people against whom there's pending litigation. So it's better to just not address that if there is pending litigation.
If I could just, Councilman Diaz-Pizito, thank you for your comments. And it was said before that Mr. Procacci is providing transparency free of charge. I would hope that there would be an ounce of truth to that transparency, because I have not accepted, if you go on the Board of Elections website, you can actually check it. I have not accepted donations from an employee in the last 12 to probably 24 months. So if you're going to make allegations, exactly, you misread, but you're more than happy to suggest the reason I'm voting for a raise is someone's paying me off. I have probably about $800 in my account, so I'm probably not doing a very good job of raising money. I have not accepted campaign donations from an employee, I believe, in over 24 months, if not more. Please do, and correct it at the next meeting. Thank you.
Donna Kazazza, Rockville Center. I think a resolution to your idea, one of the resolutions are, if you have directors or department heads bearing any unforeseen circumstances, they should not be having the Town of Hempstead days off. Bottom line is they know in a year in advance. Those are important dates. That's the time that the public can speak and raise questions. So with respect to the animal shelter, and again, I rarely talk about any department, with respect to that department or any other department, those heads should not be off on the Town of Hempstead hearing dates. Second of all, one other thing, just for information, many of the taxpayers that come here don't realize if they go on to TOH.li, look on the hearings, and click not just the agenda, but the resolutions, they can find out, if they just read the items, the exact streets that are being paved, the exact zombie addresses, and maybe we can expedite the process here where we're looking at things that are already here, all right? The third thing I had a question was, for instance, I'll be out of town for the next meeting, and 56 and 57 on the agenda have to do with the water districts are a concerning effort of mine. And I listen to the town board meetings when I'm out of state doing business or whatever. And I'd like to know if there's an avenue for people that are homebound or out of state, if they can ask questions while there's a live feed. For instance, last 2 weeks ago, the live feed had 90 people listening. Now, granted, it could be some employees, but there's some valid questions. Is there an avenue to ask questions?
I don't think there is at present, but it's maybe something we can look into. Thank you. Mary Ellen Cray.
Thank you. Mary Ellen Cray, 436.
I have a question. Am I in that list? Because, okay, thank you.
436 Locust Avenue, Uniondale. I have some issues. One is a matter of comfort. I don't know what kind of adjustment can be made to the air here, but I have to sit there like this to keep from the, and I'm in a middle aisle, so to keep the wind from blowing in my face. And I find that very uncomfortable. It's been a long time. It doesn't seem to make any difference where you sit. It seems to me there should be some way to adjust it. So,
Ms. Cray, I like it hot too, so we'll see what we can do to make it a little warmer in here for you next time.
I'm not a person who likes heat, but it's just this cold air blowing is very uncomfortable. The next is specific issues relating to the roads. I know you have severe problems. It's been a very rough year. But on my way here, the folks who did the corner of Henry Street and Emerson did a great job where they did it. But now the cross street of Emerson has a pothole and needs some patching. I know the patching isn't going to really do it except to be a very temporary thing, so I'm hoping that they will put this on the agenda for a real job, as they did in the other section. The other section is really great. They went down, it wasn't just a patch. And the other is Walter near Armand Street. It's a little street, and there are chunks of, road surface scattered all over the street. So, sure, great, thank you. I'd like to revisit something that was brought up quite some time ago. I have concern about the feral cats at the Oceanside landfill, since the gentleman who fed them was prevented from caring for them further. I wanted to know what kind of arrangements were made to provide for their feeding. He was barred by being fenced out, and I know if animals rely on humans to help them in a situation like that, and it's just cut off, it is not a humane situation.
I understand that sanitation has been feeding the cats. People have been in to visit the feral cat colony, and we are checking on them.
Thank you very much.
Rory Gordon.
Hi, Rory Gordon, Hop Hog, New York. I brought this up at several meetings, the consideration of having more night meetings. Would that be possible?
There was a resolution put forward to move more meetings to the evening. I believe we had 4. It was amended and reduced to 2, but at least we got 2 more night meetings.
Okay. When employees are speaking today, there was a gentleman who stood over there and spoke to the woman that was here. You cannot hear that on the live feed. Could you please have them sit? Because I watch all the meetings, and okay, I just think it's important. Could you explain to me why Don Clavin now is sitting on the board?
Don Clavin is not a member of the town board. He is the receiver of taxes.
I know, but why is he sitting there? I mean, all the years I've been attending meetings, he's never been sitting there.
The receiver of taxes has always sat here. Sometimes he doesn't stay for the full meetings, but this is his seat, and he has always sat here.
I have never seen Don Clavin here, and I've got everybody in the back saying the same thing. The optics are just very poor. And the reason I'm saying that is, well, first of all, what is Michael Deary's job description? I mean, what is it that he does? Can somebody explain that to me?
Ms. Gordon, I've been on the board for 3 years, and I think every single town board meeting that I've been at, maybe I could be mistaken, one-off, Don Clavin has been here. He used to sit next to me, and I know that because he used to make me laugh a lot, and I was happy when his spot was moved because I would laugh and it would be inappropriate. So for sure, he's been here for the 3 years that I've been on the town board.
Well, that is not so. If you look at the meetings online, it's
No, the
quite
start of
apparent.
every meeting, it's factual.
It's factual that it's not. It's factual it's not. He has not been at the meetings. He might be in the back of the room, but he's not sitting up there. It's the optics that I'm concerned about, Laura. That's all. What's Michael Deary's job description?
If you like, I do not have that with me right now. If you'd like to foil it, we'll certainly get it to you.
I believe he's the assistant to the receiver of taxes.
That's not
Confidential assistant to the receiver of taxes is his new title.
But what does the confidential assistant do?
I'll have to get it to you. I do not have the job description here with me.
Okay. I received this from the receiver of taxes. I received 3 emails. And Laura, this is for you. Okay. Why did I get this is the last page of this email. Okay. What I want to know is, when did we brand Donald Clavin with artwork? When was this approved? And who approved it?
That's the first time I've seen that artwork.
How come you don't have artwork, Laura? How come you haven't sent out a single email just letting people know who you are? I worked very hard to get you elected. I think you're going to do a great job, but I think they're taking advantage of the situation here. He sent out 3 emails already, 3, but that's not the worst part.
I have very few people that were left in the Department of Communications. Part of the people that we brought on today were people to actually work in the communications office. Most of the people in the communications office were transferred out of the communications office. So we are bringing on people to upgrade our website and do things like that.
Okay, but here's the thing that's very disturbing. It says you were subscribed to this list because you were receiving this email because you opted in the website to receive tax payment reminders. I never opted in. I have every single email going back to 2010 when I started receiving them from the town of Hempstead.
Ms. Gordon, I actually think you have a good question because there are some assistants that were hired today. So maybe, Mr. Salmon, can you provide a description to us as to what these different assistants do? Because I know it's not only confidential assistants, but there are assistants on the calendar today. This way everyone can understand who they are and what they do.
You're right, Councilman. There are several different types of assistants: confidential assistant, special assistants, direct assistants, and they vary from position to position. They work closely with the person they're assigned to work with, and if they're an exempt position, essentially, the job specs are wide open. Whatever they can do to assist the person they're working with.
And they work directly for the supervisor, is that correct? They are your people, right?
The supervisor has...
Some of the people that were brought on today are people to work on my staff to fill in holes, like the Director of Communications, which became vacant in December.
Did that person take Michael Deary's place?
She does have...
I just retained someone today that was approved by the board who will take Michael Deary's place in the Department of Communications, but Michael Deary is working in the tax receiver's office.
Yes, he's his own personal communications person, and we all know that, and we can all see that. We can see what's happening here, and I like I said, I worked really hard to get you elected, and that's irrelevant, not just me, a lot of people that are in this room. I got another email here. It says here, Town News mailing list. The town of Hempstead regularly issues press releases. This is what I signed up for. So it's very much like the case with the Anchor case, where the list was, quote, taken, stolen, whatever you would use, okay, and now it's being used to the benefit of the tax department to make Donald Clavin look good, in my opinion, okay? I subscribed, here's my subscription. It says this message here, if you want to get the Town of Hempstead press releases, this is what you have to do. I keep everything, and it's wrong. It's wrong to take advantage of the Town of Hempstead's mailing list for someone's personal gain, to get name recognition, because, hey, they're starting already, Laura. They don't want you here. I'm sorry, I want you here. But there are people, employees, I'm in the town a lot, and this is what they're doing to you. Please don't let this happen. Please, please get your own letterhead. Look at this. I have these emails here that were sent by Santino. Town of Hempstead News, receiver of taxes, Clavin. He gets a little mention here, but who's on top? Santino. He branded himself, and you need to brand yourself. The people of the Town of Hempstead, they need to know who you are, Laura. It's so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Terry Winston.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Winston. Supervisor Gillen, you have my condolences. I have 2 questions. Could you start that? I haven't started yet. I just want to.
I'm just getting this together.
No, I'm talking. Whoever's monitoring the clock, could you stop it? I have 2 questions, and then I have a statement. 5 minutes. My first question is referencing the statement or the comment that you made with respect to maintaining order at this meeting. If the shoe is on the other foot, because I don't know of anyone that has come to this meeting. I'm asking the question. I don't know of anyone, any audience, and I've come to a lot of these meetings, that has been ever disrespectful. All right? But however, I've been to meetings where members that have sat up here on this board have been very disrespectful. They cut us off. They don't let us finish. And what am I to do? Or what do you do about that?
Well, I don't think that that's happened since I have been the supervisor. I don't recall any time that there has been a council person being disrespectful to residents, and it's certainly not something that it goes both ways. Everybody has to be respectful to each other.
Well, are you going to have them ejected? That's my question. And
I haven't seen any instance where anybody there's been a need to have someone removed.
Well, at the last meeting, Dorothy Gooseby and a person in the audience had a back and forth shouting match initiated by Dorothy Gooseby.
Well, that's why I made the comment that everybody needs to be respectful. I don't know if I'm speaking about that instance in particular, but I felt like at the last meeting things got a little heated. So I wanted to remind everybody that we should all be respectful to each other.
Okay.
But just to clarify, I think Senior Councilwoman Gooseby is a terrific councilwoman, has always conducted herself properly.
Excuse me, I was talking to Supervisor Gillen, okay? I was talking to her.
Please be respectful to the councilwoman.
You're actually you're speaking to the whole board. This is a town board meeting.
Well, in reference to the members, okay, could you ask them not to interject unless whoever's sitting here finishes speaking?
This is a dialogue. Sometimes somebody might be speaking and there might be an answer that a council person can readily provide that could be helpful and not disrespectful. So I don't think to set rules like that would be productive.
Well, you're setting rules for the public, so I mean, it should go both ways.
I think we try to let people speak as long as they can. I try not to interrupt people and let them finish what they're saying. However, if there's a statement that's made that I can address right away, I try to jump in, but always in a respectful way. And so far, I've seen the same kind of treatment from the board.
My second question is, with response to my issues last week with the Town of Hempstead IDA, I have yet to hear from someone from your office. I just wanted to know, is it?
It is being investigated. You will be contacted.
I was told that I would hear from someone from your office.
We are investigating it.
You will be contacted. First, they're taking statements from the offices, and then you're going to be contacted.
And with regard to zombie houses and neighborhoods such as the neighborhood that I live in, which is the village of Hempstead, where the children are underserved as far as education goes. Nassau County is ranked 13th in the country in reference to its wealth. So therefore, no home should be left behind, and no child should be left behind when it comes down to education. Supervisor Gillen, you were elected because people wanted change, and the only way to exact change is the things that you can change is to get rid of those people that you can. I know you're not responsible for the individuals up here that sit on this board because that was through an electoral process, but anyone that you can get rid of them.
Are you talking about terminating employees?
You have to have people that are going to be with you. What happens is that in order for it to work, okay, you can't have people that are going to be working for the other team.
Employment decisions are ratified by the town board. Every employee is subject to a vote by the town board.
In order to exact change, you're going to have to make a concerted effort to make changes, or else we're going to be going around in circles, all right? Most of the people in the audience, like myself, come to all of these meetings, and I'm still hearing the same things over and over again, as if there's no change. I'm not going to go away. My issues aren't going to go away if they're not rectified.
What changes in particular are you talking about?
Well, the town of Hempstead IDA needs to be gotten rid of, okay? They've overstayed their welcome. There's no reason why, especially now with the tax break that our fearless leader up there gave to all the rich people, all right? With that particular tax break, there's no reason why we should have pilots. That gentleman there, he shouldn't be there. You couldn't get rid of him? He's still there.
Are you talking about the town attorney?
Yes.
The town attorney serves at the pleasure of the board, and the town attorney has been helpful in having me transition into this role.
Well, see, you're allowing the board to influence you because the only one.
I'm not allowing the board to influence me as a matter of town law. All employment, I cannot just fire and hire whoever I want to. That's not the way the town law works.
Well, he should be fired.
Even if you are the supervisor, your employment decisions are ratified by the town board. So any employment decision has to come before the town board. That's why we had that resolution today. Even all the people I hired today just to be on my own staff, I had to get the votes to bring them onto my staff.
Well, that means that you got your hands tied behind your back. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying in terms of employment decisions.
You're just a face, right? That's what you're saying.
I think I'm more than just a face, but in terms of employment decisions, I do need a ratification and votes of the town board.
Well, like I said, anyone that you are responsible for, okay, that isn't doing what they're supposed to do, then you should get rid of them. Thank you.
Just for purposes of clarification, since you attacked our town attorney, the town attorney has the clear and strong support of the overwhelming majority of the board, and it will remain so.
He doesn't have my support, and I'm a taxpayer.
Okay, may I, you finished speaking? I didn't want to interrupt because you said we interrupt.
Excuse me, Ms. Madden, please don't come in up here now. Let her.
May I just address it real quickly? Our senior councilwoman had reacted to statements that were made about her. And she was right in how she did it. She did it with class, and she was accurate in what she did. And I'm 100% behind her in what she did and how she did it because of disrespect that was shown to her, one. And then two, I'm 100% behind her, and her voters are 91.1% behind her. So that was totally accurate in what she had talked about. So, you know what? You're not at the mic. Have some respect. You are.
Ms. Capuano, you
That's
cannot
the,
shout out from the gallery.
Thank you.
I think it should be.
I was at the meeting, the last meeting, and that's not what happened.
Diane, can you please step away and let Ms. Winston finish her remarks?
Yes, I just was hoping you could expand on things and circumstances where you can remove people for misconduct and incompetence.
Are you the Speaker's counsel?
Are you my counsel?
No, but I know that there's only one person at the mic at the time. Believe
Ms.
me, I would
Winston,
never
can
be
you
your
finish
counsel.
your remarks, please.
Excuse me. Could you answer what she asked for me?
Right now, and Mr. Ra, you can jump in. The ability to terminate people is limited to incompetence or misconduct. Is that what?
That is correct, Supervisor.
I don't have any more slips. Oh, Felix?
In regards to the town attorney's statement that we don't comment, the town doesn't comment on pending litigation, well, in the case of Roy Gunther, Mark Bonilla, and Billy Dean, among others, the town has put out press releases, passed laws, and went out of their way to comment on those cases. So just to correct your statement, you selectively choose not to comment on certain litigation. That's just to be accurate. I want to speak on the STR, the short-term rental ban. I've contacted Supervisor Gillen on this and Councilwoman Sweeney, because that was her law, I believe. I sent this to you, but I put it in color. It makes it easier. This is the brief statement that we're saying is required by law. And all this brief statement says is it states the law. So this is the short-term rental ban notice, right? Then this was the notice for mass mailing, in which Councilman D'Esposito tabled without any reason. I really appreciate you telling us why you tabled those resolutions. A reason is really nice. And I would agree that it just says mass mailing. It's bad according to the TOH, the Town of Hempstead, right? So I would agree with that. I just wish you let us know in advance so people didn't have to stay here till 9 o'clock at night to find out. And then you did it good. Then you could see it's much more. Here's the red, and then there's the pink. You added all this, and this is good per the Town of Hempstead okayed this notice for the mass mailing legislation. And now the ethical standards, once again, that was brought out, I think, by Councilwoman Sweeney, if I remember, and I think she was correct, saying that the ethical standards wasn't noticed correctly. You see how small it is, and it just states the law, really no description. And then when you modified that law, you see how much bigger it is. And what I'm here to really ask you is, I've asked Councilwoman Sweeney, I asked Supervisor Gillen to please re-notice this law and rehear it, because legally it's not legal. I know I have options as far as in Article 78, but like I said, if I have to go to Article 78 every time the town board does something wrong, I'll be out of money very quickly. And I think out of ethical, that's why I say the ethics is the most important thing, and that's why I said really moving forward you should have passed the ethics on day one, at least the public participation in the ethics. Then you could get the hairier stuff that might be controversial done later on, because that gives the public something to work with besides laying out $5 grand, 10 grand for a lawyer. Okay, because that's our options. When my rights are violated before this microphone, which I have on video, my option is to go get a lawyer or do it myself and bring you guys to federal court. That's not really a viable option for residents. That's no option. Then I have a few things I want to get to. I asked that we do the special election law that I talked to you. I didn't talk to you about it, but I sent you an email about it. The employment opportunities, they should be put on the town's website. That would be very easy to do. That is cost nothing. And then we won't have entire families working for the town, because I think it's very rare in private industry, unless it's a family-run business, where an entire family, mother, father, and 2 kids, just coincidentally, no wrongdoing involved, no implied, but just coincidentally, it's very high probability that all 4 members of a family not get a job in the same place. It's just not really thing. Real quick, the Department of Highway, I believe I sent you this copy. Again, this morning I saw the salt truck with an empty hopper driving around Franklin Square. Why? I don't know. If they have no work, if Thomas Toscano can't figure out any work to give them, I have plenty of work that they could do, useful work, productive work, not just driving around picking up twigs and sticking them between the hopper and the frame of the truck, because that's just wasteful spending and waste in fuel and everything else, and we're supposed to be clean and green, right? The free air law, once again, I don't know why Beckman Hennick is going ballistic on this. I wish they would stop it. The animal shelter audit, that was not a dog and pony show, and if it was a good dog and pony show. You should publicize that as much as you can, because when the audit came out in 2012, there was one press release. There was no press release but from the town, and the Monopoly put out one press release, and it was all forgotten after. And we need to remember what happened in these audits every day, not just after it happened.
All right, Mr. Procacci, with respect to your comments, if there were legal deficiencies in the notice for the short-term rental ban, we'll look into it. I can't comment on it. I don't know if there were. I wasn't here, but we'll look into it. The special election law, I'm not sure I got any communication about that, but you can reach out.
Dorothy Gooseby's lawyer said it was good, and he knows a case out east somewhere where a town did it.
If you've reached out to Mr. Lester, I'd be happy to follow up with him and see what that is. With respect to the highway department, we have really great men and women who work for our highway department. I can't speak to the truck that you saw today, but our workforce
every day.
Our workforce is great, and
I'm not criticizing the workforce. It's leadership. This is one of the reasons why I came to town hall in 2009 when I was walking my kids to school in 90-degree weather, summer recreation. The trucks were going up and down the street, and I am not blaming the workers, because there's no such thing as a bad group of workers, a bad army. It's always when it appears that the group is bad, you look at the leader. That's why it's bad.
Okay. All right. So I don't understand that people are doing busy work within the Department of Highways, but if you have a specific complaint, we'll look into it.
It's a chronic problem. It's every day. It's every day.
And with respect to the free air litigation, as we've discussed, we're looking to.
You can't comment, but you commented on Billy Dean. Kate Murray did a press conference on Billy Dean.
That was the past. I'm here now.
I'm just saying, but Joe Rod's making inaccurate statements, and we're trying to correct inaccurate statements, and I will correct myself if I'm wrong about you.
Okay, Felix, I need to wrap up.
My apology in advance. Okay?
Thank you for your comments. Everybody, thank you for being here today. I hope you have a great afternoon. Okay, I got to get out of here. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Alex. All right, how are you? No, thanks. No, thanks. No, thanks. No, thanks.